Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from Simple 123 Trader. This is the weekly playbook outlook for the major futures indexes for the week of December 13th to 18th. Let's go ahead and take a look at how each of the currency futures, etc., are setting up. Hope everybody's doing well. Last week we looked at Australian dollar, and the expectation was for a push to the upside for the week, and it did just that. And again, for this week, the outlook looks the same. Very, very strong in the Australian dollar to the upside on the daily time frame. So we can see again, very strong to the upside. Lots of momentum and continued push to the upside going into this week as well. Okay, so that's the Australian dollar quickly. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin. And last week with Bitcoin, we're sitting right at a very critical point, and expected some turbulence there. And it was possible that we could break to new highs, but it did not on the weekly. Okay, so daily time frame, a little bit of a pullback, and now the expected move is again a move to tackle the highs previously. So this week, looking for movement to the upside in the Bitcoin. Okay, next we'll look at crude oil. And on the weekly, crude oil has lots of strength going right now. So this big, huge move from basically below zero at one point, now we're heading to the upside with a lot of strength on the weekly. On the daily, again, lots of movement to the upside. So not seeing any negatives with crude oil at all going into this week. So strength in crude oil. And we'll look at the Canadian dollar, and on the weekly, again, lots of strength in the Canadian dollar as well. So on the weekly, we were looking for strength. It was a little bit of a we were at a resistance area last week, and it was a little bit of hesitation, but overall the trajectory is still to the upside, and we can see that is playing out just like that. So we'll continue to the upside for the Canadian dollar. We'll now look at the US dollar, and on the weekly time frame, we're in a downward spiral right now, and this looks like it's going to continue for the US dollar. So any pullbacks is a buying or selling opportunity for the US dollar. And then opposite for the base currencies, and the quote currency US dollar will be to the downside. So on the daily time frame, we're still heading to the down, and again, weakness going into this week, and continued weakness for the remainder of the week. Let's take a look at the euro on the weekly. Also lots of strength in the euro, lots of room to the upside here, and this is looking very strong for the euro. On the daily time frame, again, we're still pushing to the upside, and all these are sitting at really nice areas, and this push to the upside is very strong. So euro looking strong going into this week. Now we'll look at the Swiss franc on the weekly time frame. Also lots of strength. I'm going to have to go to the monthly, and okay, there's nothing there. We're just in free range territory on the Swiss franc. So lots of strength on the Swiss franc going forward for this week. We had a bit of a pullback on the daily, but now it opened up very strongly to the upside here. So Swiss franc has strength. So we'll take a look at gold, and on the weekly, now gold has had quite a retrace, and now looking to set up for a move to the upside. So possible turn of events for gold back to the upside. It is possible, or we could be getting one more push back down. So one of these scenarios is going to play out here on the daily. If we break this low, we're heading down one more time before we get a turnaround. But if we do not break this low, and instead break this high, we're heading north for some new moves to the upside in gold. Okay, so two scenarios can play out this week. Right now it's weak, so we have to go with that weakness, but it could just be a retrace of this current move before it takes off. All right, let's take a look at the Japanese yen on the weekly. Lots of strength in the Japanese yen, although it's sitting at a very critical junction, and so could be seeing some hesitancy at this point. You can see it's very choppy. We're kind of sideways, so this might take a bit of might be tough for it to break through. This is a very, very strong resistance area. So looking at more up than anything else, but we could also chop sideways again for the remainder of the week with Japanese yen. Okay, let's take a look at the New Zealand dollar. And on the weekly, we have strength in the New Zealand dollar and lots of room to move to the upside. So this is like the Aussie. And on the daily, again, we're pushing very strongly to the upside. So not seeing anything holding this back for the moves to the upside for the remainder of the week. Okay, let's take a look at the Mexican peso. And that has had quite the moves. Let's go to Mexican peso here. Sorry. Okay, so big move up, and then we kind of hit a stumbling block. It was kind of an area where we had previous support and resistance, and so it turned into a little bit of resistance. We got to pull back, but now it's starting to turn again to the upside. So looking at the daily, sorry, we this little pullback opportunity to buy to go to the long. So I would be looking for strength in the Mexican peso against the US dollar, especially as the US dollar continues its fall. Okay, let's take a look at the British pound. And on the weekly time frame, British pound, a little bit of a pullback last week because again we were sitting at a very strong resistance area, very strong right across. And so we got to pull back, but now it looks like it's ready to tackle and attack those highs. And so this is what's happening now. We're pushing to the upside. Again, once we get to this level, we're going to have some issues trying to get through, but the trajectory for the week is to the upside. Okay, next one we'll look at is silver. Okay, so all that glitters is not gold. Silver glitters as well. So silver, we've had a little pullback here, and we could still have one more drop before we turn around here. So we have to just drop down to that's on the weekly. Let's drop to the daily, take a closer look. Okay, you can see clearly that we're just completely sideways at this level. So are we basically going to drop one more time? That is totally possible before we get out of here. So I'd be looking for this to continue its sideways movement and to down, sideways to down before I'd see a turnaround at this point on silver. Okay, next one is the Russell 2000, and this doesn't seem to want to stop. So the mid cap companies are very strong and really holding up this market. Lots of strength going into this week again. So I like that to the upside. US 30, Dow Jones also very strong to the upside. You can see we've broken that high and we're still pushing to the upside on US 30 and the S&P 500. S&P 500, similar, a little bit of a pullback this week after making new highs, but now getting ready to tackle. So on the weekly, very strong, a little bit of a pullback, but now we're getting ready to tackle the highs again and go to even newer highs. So like the strength in that, and especially looking at the news with the virus vaccines and so on. There's got a little bit of euphoria in the market in hopes that this will propel things to positive coming into a new year and so forth. So I see lots of strength going into Christmas and so forth for this as the vaccine is put out to everyone. Okay. Lastly, we look at the U.S. tech and a pullback from the highs, but again, getting ready to assault those highs again. So we broke through the highs, had a little pullback last week, and now we're looking to make an assault to new highs for this week. So we'll see how that plays out that way. All right, so that's a look at all that's setting up for this week. So for our members, keep your eye on the US dollar if you're playing the majors. Remember, we want to look at base currencies against the US dollar to go up if the US dollar continues its weakness, and then the base US dollar or the quote US dollar pairs go into the downside along with the US dollar as it continues down. All right, so profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. We're done now. Thank you.